Welcome back to the Jännerrallye for 2026, the 39th edition of this iconic event here in beautiful Upper Austria. My name is Peter McRae. I'm going to take you through all the action this afternoon alongside Hollie McRae and for the very first time on Twitch with Kuru HS. It's been a great morning so far for Simon Wagner, leading the way by 19.5 seconds from Michael Langer, the winner of the last two Jännerrallyes. But Mads Osberg fighting his way back up into the podium positions after a puncture early on in stage number one. A quick lunchtime service, Hollie, and good to go for this afternoon. Straight back to the Lasberg stage, which certainly went the right way for Michael Langer that time.
A very quick lunchtime service, yes. As we were about halfway through the stream of stage 5, we could hear the cars making their way back. And so by the time that we wrapped up coverage, I quickly darted out to the service area to see who I could speak to before the drivers head back out to SS6. They're off for the second pass of Arena Lasberg, and it is bound to be very exciting. We saw the stage change quite a bit with a lot of pollution on the stage throughout in the first pass. They're heading right back there again this afternoon, so it'll be interesting to see how the stage has changed since then. I spoke to Mads Osberg, who said it was a lot more aggressive in the wider parts that stage, maybe something that he wasn't quite expecting, and perhaps that means that he can drive even more aggressively on this second pass, knowing that there might be a little bit more grip underneath his tyres.
That's an ominous thought for his rivals, isn't it? That he'll be out there pushing harder. Kuru, your first chance to see the kind of atmosphere and the energy of a lunchtime service in a rally. What did you think of that?
It was actually quite nice because my family actually came by to visit, so we were checking out the drivers coming back into the hall, showing off their cars, and it's been quite a commotion already. There's a lot of people here enjoying the event and checking out the cars. Lots of fans. They're excited for the event.
So far, out of the variety of cars we've seen, what's catching your eye? What would be getting your order if you were going rallying tomorrow?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
I said, if you were going rallying tomorrow, you've had a chance to have a look at some of the cars. What's catching your eye? Which would be your choice?
I really like the Ford Fiesta Rally, the Rally 2 car. That's been, I've been quite a Ford fan for quite a while. My dad used to have Ford Mondeo, 2 of them in a row, so that car is closer to home than the others.
Now, I have to say, I saw a bit of a surprise on a Fiesta Rally too, because I went outside. I walked over to the service area of Romet Jurgensen to see his car pull in without a windscreen. Now, we've seen it happen already on this rally, cars coming back to service with half or cracked windscreens. Didn't expect it from Romet because we didn't see anything on the coverage that would tell us that he had had an incident. And when I spoke to Sim, he said it actually happened on the first stage of the loop. So that would have been stage 3 this morning. He hit one of those poles that's lining the side of the stage, cracked the windscreen, and he's had to drive for the rest of that loop with the cracked windscreen. It's now repaired, but again, is that something that gets his rivals a bit worried? If he's been driving maybe a little more cautiously than he might have been, or with a bit more hampered vision on those last couple stages, goodness knows what we'll see from him this afternoon.
That's also an ominous thought, isn't it, for the rest of the field? Romet Jurgensen gaining the experience with every kilometre. Well, it was Michael Langer who was quickest through earlier on in the first pass of this stage, and it's a stage that he really, really enjoys. He won it both times last year when it was run in very similar formats. Well, can he get 4 in a row? Should be a slightly easier time for Johannes Kepperbach, who's on the start line at the moment. He had to open the road earlier on, and sweeping away a lot of the loose snow should be a little bit better for that this time around. And we've had about an hour or so since the cars have come through, so should be a little bit clearer for our crews to go through, particularly those that are going to be at the front of the order, and a little bit more tarmac on show as well. Tyres-wise, what did you guys see in the service park? What did you many new tyres going on? Any changes of choices?
I think what we saw was quite similar to what we'd heard at the end of the stage on stage 5. People needing to bring out new tyres as opposed to swapping the 4 that they'd had on since the morning. But again, tackies seem to be the order of the day.
Well, the tackies, the little narrow, skinny tyres with all those 228 2mm studs to give that grip in the icy, snowy conditions. Not ideal on pure tarmac, but if more than, say, 30% of the stage is covered in snow or ice, then the little tackies are brilliant. And they do look a little strange on the Rally 2. You thought the Rally 2 car with tackies looked like Gru from Despicable Me. I went with Johnny Bravo for my likeness.
Some great comparisons, yeah. You look at them and it does just look a bit odd. You've got this big beast of a car sat on top of these tiny little legs. So if you are listening along on the YouTube stream on Twitch, let us know if you've got any other funny comparisons of what these Rally 2 cars with the tackies look like.
Yeah, I was just thinking about skipping a leg day when I saw those tires for the first day.
That is very good. Very good. It kind of has almost a little bit of a shopping trolley vibe. It shouldn't really work. You know, you think, oh, more contact patch is better, but not always. It just allows that little bit of bite into the ground, but it looks an absolute hoot to drive. The wide oversteer angles we've seen from some of the cars so far have been superb. And I was having a brief chat with Simon Wagner in the service break, and he said it's absolutely amazing fun to drive these cars with these tyres. Kind of a rare treat, really. It's the only time of the year they'll actually get to do that. So it's huge fun. Martin Laszlo on the start line then. Steady start to the day for Martin. Road position's been difficult to overcome. A lot of the drivers running early on the road have really been punished with the overnight snow that we had, but maybe going to be a little bit more friendly in the second pass here, sitting just inside the top 20 at the moment. So Martin will be hoping to make a charge this afternoon.
We see the final preparations as they're getting ready. Little peace sign from Victor Van. He's just chilled out, always ready to go rallying. Martin's in there doing a bit of a warm-up with his hands, letting maybe a bit of air in the car there. There was a bit of chat on the YouTube stream this morning asking whether the cars had heated seats in them, and some back and forth between some other viewers. These cars certainly do not need heated seats. The heat that builds up inside these Rally 2 cars over the stage will be keeping the drivers plenty warm, and you can see there just by Martin giving the door a little waft to get some cold fresh air in before he begins the stage. And I'm sure when he does get to the end of the stage, it's a nice bit of heat for whoever's at the stage end as well. When that door opens, you get a nice bit of warmth.
Oh, it's the best thing ever. You just want to jump in beside them when they open the door in those cold conditions.
It's the beauty of a cold rally.
Yes, exactly. You get the warmth off the car, and of course there's the physical exertion as well, working the wheel back and forward. We've seen several times on the changes of direction the drivers going right to the opposite end of the steering lock and then straight back to the opposite end the other way. It's quite rutted and messy there, but Martin handling it well. Yeah, it looks to be a little bit better traction, a little bit better grip than there was in the first pass, which wasn't all that long ago, so the weather really hasn't had much chance to change. In fact, we're heading into the kind of mid to late part of the afternoon, 3:15 here, local time. So that will won't be long until we actually start to get dark. The sun will be setting soon. In fact, the shadows are lengthening, Kuru. So we're heading towards nighttime rallying, which is always special.
Yeah, it's actually kind of hard to tell unless you see the shade of the car, right? It still looks like brightest day, but temperatures have already been dropping ever since the sun has been setting. And yeah, I do expect to see even more of the track freeze up as we get closer towards the night, and that once again makes it harder for the drivers, and the tacky tires are gonna be more relevant again.
bite into that surface. And who knows what we'll see overnight? Will we see snowfall overnight, or will we go back to much clearer road in the morning?
I'm really hoping for a bit of snowfall. Absolutely. I feel like it'll keep things interesting if we have a little fresh powder of snow overnight.
Could do. Yeah, could do. Need to check the road order regulations to see who goes first tomorrow. Is it the rally leader or not? I need to look up in the stage end break, because that will be critical as well. Because if our rally leader starts at the front of the road and we have a dump of snow, then yes, that throws the whole rally wide open. So Albert of Contour on Taxis with Jännerrallye alongside, preparing to head off into the second pass of Lasberg. Brand new experience for Albert, but the team that run this car, Baumschlager, they know exactly how to maximise the Skoda Fabia RS package, particularly on this event. Raymond Baumschlager, the team owner, 3-time Jännerrallye winner, 10 Jännerrallye podiums, and 14 Austrian championships. That should be enough to know how to get the best out of car and driver on this particular rally.
You would absolutely think so, and I think it speaks volumes when you look at the drivers that they have driving within the team. There are people that come to this rally that want to have the very best, and when they do, that's one of the first teams that they will go to get their car run. That experience comes in plenty.
List of winners so many times. It's a Baumschlager car that's got to the top step of the podium. Still quite a bit of loose snow here as Albert Bontour Taxi is trying to get the car to slow down, twitching back and forth.
Very nice corner there.
Beautiful.
You saw in his car and Martin, as they were coming down the back end, sort of fishtailing its way down that hill, trying to slow enough but not put on the brakes too much that they slide out further, and Albert's just given us a beautiful example of what that corner should look like.
I think they actually expected a little bit more grip before that corner. I think that took all a little bit longer than they wanted to. They tried to, and they did save it, but it did cost them some time for sure.
Yeah, such a mixture of surfaces, trying to judge that, and of course it just changes all the time. The ice snow crews, of course, go through the stages before and then report back to the drivers and co-drivers, and then they try to add in what they can to the notes, the danger spots where maybe you can gain a little bit of time, just trying to give the driver as much anticipation as possible to commit to the corner. Martin Laszlo now heading towards the end of the stage. A little bit of a Scandi flick there and whoop, over the crest. That's a really, really tricky looking corner, actually. Easy to get it wrong, and as Martin asked for the power, the rear of the car stepping out, having to put the corrective lock in all the time.
Yeah, it's looking
really,
it's
really
a lot slippier there in comparison to the run from earlier. Not even 60 minutes have passed for most of them, and it's very noticeably different in regards of grip.
I think the drivers will be happy to see the end of that corner. I think they'll be glad once they've got stage 6 out the way and they don't have to deal with it anymore, because it seems to be taking a lot of effort and a lot of mental strain from them.
Well, Johannes Kepperbach, he's come through the stage 26 seconds quicker than this morning. So, than the first pass, excuse me, which of course was only about an hour ago. Apologies, folks. The 26 seconds quicker for Johannes Kepperbach, a great example of the difference between opening the road with that loose covering of snow and once a whole field of cars have come through. So will we see that improvement in the rest of the field? You perhaps would think so. So off goes Philip Kreisel in his Toyota GR Yaris Rally 2 on the brakes.
We've seen that all day with Johannes Kepperbach, that his second pass, he's making up so much time against his own time from the first pass, and it'll be interesting to see tomorrow, if the order does have a bit of a reshuffle, how we see his times change.
Kreisel looking like he's able to just get the power down out the corner that little bit better. And down the hill now through this arena section. Interesting that they open the corner up on the left-hand side for the right-hand bend, but actually putting two tacky tyres onto fresh snow. And kind of there's a lot of drivers have done it, so they've kind of all followed, and it's sort of widened the entry to the corner out a little bit.
I've been noticing that too, and it's getting wider and wider as the day goes on. Like there was this one track of tires, and now he went even further than everyone before him. Just getting a little bit further on the outside. Probably going to give him a slightly better entry for that corner and probably pick up a little bit of extra speed that way.
Widened out very nicely. So it seems like the order of the day is for this afternoon is those narrow tacky tyres, 15-inch Pirelli Soto Zero Snow. Soto Zero Snow S, to give it its full nomenclature. SA1 if you're looking for it in the Pirelli catalogue. In fact, there's certain points of where I live in Scotland that these tyres would be quite useful at the moment to put them on your road car, but they of course are absolutely not road legal. They're for rallying and competition use only. But whoa, Albert von Thurn Taxis, he's pushing on here, Hollie. He's going after it this afternoon.
He certainly is. I'm just listening to you chat about the tackies and think they would have been quite useful on my RAC experience. I might have made it to the end of the rally rather than stranded on my roof for a couple of hours if I'd had a pair of tackies on.
Potentially, maybe that's something for next one. Get the tackies on.
We'll look into it. We'll get them introduced to the UK. Now, we are looking here at Martin Fischerlänger as he's about to get started on this afternoon loop. I did speak to Martin over the 45-minute lunchtime service there because we noticed on the last stage of the day that last stage before the service, that he had dropped over 3 minutes in SS4. Now, he was able to confirm that was because he did get a puncture, and rather than drive on it for the rest of the stage, he did stop to change the puncture to avoid damaging the car anymore. So luckily, there wasn't any more stories to tell. It was purely a puncture change that lost him the time, and he himself is looking forward to this afternoon. He said that the stages that are to follow after we wrap up this stage are some of his favourite in the rally, and even before he got started this morning, he thought that he'd be doing better in the afternoon than he did in the morning. So hopefully that's a good omen, and we'll see him do some excellent stuff this afternoon, especially since he's managed to keep that car nice and neat.
He knows this event so well, making his 19th Jännerrallye start. So yeah, I mean, can it be better? Sunny Saturday afternoon in a Rally 2 car on these roads, on these tyres. Yeah, fantastic. Now, speaking of stories to tell, Johannes Kepperbog took 26 seconds out of his time from the first pass, a 26-second improvement. But for Martin Laszlo, 11 seconds slower than the first pass, 39 seconds slower than Johannes Kepperbog. That would indicate to me that Martin's had some sort of problem there. Because Albert von Thurn Taxis has just gone 5.8 quicker than Kepperbog. So I don't think it's a stage evolution thing. I think there's been a problem in that stage for the number 10 of Martin Laszlo. He is to the end of the stage, but quite a bit of time dropped there, unfortunately. But Albert von Thurn Taxis fastest through so far, 6:51 for the German driver, compares to a 7:11 from the first pass. So 20 seconds improvement for Albert von Thurn Taxis. So you would think, Guru, that the grip is getting better than what we saw even just an hour or two ago. Just all those cars that have gone through. Whoop, little issue there for Philip Kreisel.
No, you can definitely tell that it's getting harder to grip the car. A lot of situations like this where the car suddenly slips away and they're trying to catch it, but so far not any major mistakes, and they are more confident on the second run. They now have a better idea of what they can expect from the stage at full race pace, and although the conditions are trickier, a lot of them are going to improve their times.
I think the conditions are getting better, for sure. 20-second improvement for Albert von Thurn Taxis, 26-second improvement for Johannes Kepperbach. I think the conditions are definitely improving with those cars coming through. So on the start line then, the number 11 of Kevin Wraith with Claudia Meyer alongside co-driving. Relatively new co-driver for Kevin on his Jännerrallye debut. And at the moment, Kevin's sitting in the top 15 on his Jännerrallye debut, which you would imagine, Hollie. I think that's a fairly good start there for Kevin on such a unique event.
Absolutely, I'd say so. Anyone that can come to this event having not rallied in a while, it is a great achievement. Now, whether it's a case of wrapping up seasons from last year, or a lot of these local drivers will do this rally, maybe a couple others, and that is their season. So coming to Jännerrallye, sort of blowing the cobwebs off and getting the 2026 season underway, to be sitting in the top 15 at this stage is a brilliant achievement.
Shows that the Fiesta and the ZM racing team are a formidable package. Of course, this Ford Fiesta Rally 2, first introduced all the way back in 2017. It's a relatively old machine now, and yet still being improved upon all the time. New set of upgrades for 2026, which will roll out to customers over the course of the year. We're getting our first glimpse of a Fiesta with those upgrades in Roman Jurgensen's machine, which we'll see a little bit later on. Even a different steering wheel for it now, so just little adaptations all the time. As Kevin Wraith now out of the triangular arena section, as you can see here, the drivers do 2 laps of it before heading out into the stage proper. 3 quite tight, tricky corners to deal with there, but a great chance for the fans to see. Looks like there's a couple of concession stands as well there. Chance to maybe get a coffee or a tea or have something stronger if you're there. It's Saturday afternoon after all.
You've got to make the most of it, I think. You can see, oh no!
Oh!
Little stall on the corner for Martin. A quick recovery there, to be fair, and it does mean he's taking that corner a bit slower than the rest have managed all day, so hopefully he won't have lost too much time in total round there. But to be honest, I'm surprised we've not seen more of that on that corner.
Definitely, it looks so tricky. So tricky, because you kind of go over that little nasty ledge and down to really, really slow speed. First gear, having to put the clutch in, and it's, really easy to get it all wrong. We've seen a few drivers kick off the banking as well, which you've got to be careful with these tyres not pushing the rubber off. Now, Michael Langauer, the double winner, local hero, lives just down the road, won the stage on both occasions last year, won it in the first pass earlier on. Can he mount a fight back? I mean, Simon Wagner 19.5 seconds ahead right now, so Michael Langauer really needs to mount the charge now, and this is a good chance to do so in that Baumschlager Racing Kodafabia RS Rally 2. Same spec of car that he won with last year.
Yeah, there's something about this stage that Michael seems to really enjoy. 2 stage wins last year on this very stage. He did the same again on the first pass just before the service. I did try and find him over service to ask him what it is about this stage that he does enjoy so much, or what it is that works for him, but unfortunately I couldn't quite track him down. I've sent him an Instagram message instead, because you can't escape my questions. And when I do hear from him eventually, I will pass on what it is about Lasberg that Michael Langauer loves so much.
You're speaking like a true journalist, Hollie. I love it. I love it. That's it. That curiosity.
I won't let them escape.
Using the berm there on the entry point as Langauer, a little flick of the tail and back on the power. He'll have a lot of friends and family watching. You'd have to imagine, of course. This is his home patch. This is his home rally, going for 3 in a row. But he's got work to do. It hasn't necessarily done anything wrong. It's just that Wagner's been in such a groove, Kuru. Wagner hasn't made the mistake, but not only that, he's just found that little bit of extra pace, just a little bit here and there, but it's been enough to build that gap over the morning.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see him continue his amazing work. It's been a pleasure to watch him. Very satisfying, and just a dream from a viewer's perspective to watch someone drive this well.
It seems like these two gentlemen are very used to battling it out with one another, though. It was Michael that finished second to Simon Wagner in the championship in Austria last year. So I feel like this is something that Austrian fans will be plenty used to seeing. Oh, that looked like nearly a second stall on that corner there. I wonder what is causing them to take it maybe a bit more cautiously on this second pass.
I do think this corner in particular seems to have iced over, just going by the cars that either stalled there or just slid a little bit wide, hit the side of the car. It seems to have been a lot more tricky on a second attempt.
A nasty corner indeed. Mads Osberg then and Sergio Itu, stage win earlier on, but they sit at the moment in the top three, managed to move up onto the podium in the previous running of this stage, and they went for that dastardly puncture where they dropped 36.5 seconds, they would be right in the conversation for the win. But with a good afternoon here, with a good last few stages of the day, they could go into tomorrow with a chance to fight for a victory on debut. Now there is a stat. I wonder if
150
last
short
driver to win on debut at the Jännerrallye, pretty sure is Robert Kubica when it was in the ERC, but I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, and probably am, do let us know on the YouTube page or on Twitch, but I think it was Robert Kubica in 2014. It's Mads Osberg underway, going through the little arena triangle at the moment. Sergio Itu said that traction had left the chat earlier on, but appears to be sort of just about returning.
Gotta be honest, he's looking particularly quick here in the first section of the race. In comparison to the previous drivers, I feel like he is already having quite a bit more pace. A lot of close calls to the hay balls on the side here, but he's getting through there just fine, and at a really high speed from what I can tell.
He was eyeing up a bit of a push this afternoon, and from what we can see in the first kilometre or so, he's sticking to his word. He is going for it, and rightly so. He's had an epic comeback throughout the first couple of stages of the rally, and if that continues, goodness knows where he could be by tomorrow.
Extra long, 70. 4 right, small cut. Sorry. 4 right, small cut, 70. Flat crest, 120.
So it seems actually a little bit more frantic in the car there for Mads and Sergio. And so maybe a big push going on, and huge difference in commitment with Michael Lengauer going through that section. Oh yeah, visibly quicker here from Lengauer, showing why he's a double Jännerrallye winner, putting that Skoda right on the edge. That is what a rally winner looks like, and he's really pushing it to go back on board with Mads and Sergio.
Short 5 left plus. Into short 5 right over crest, 60. 5 left, 100. 6 left minus half long. Opens extra long, tightens slow short on top, 30 slippy 3 left, snow.
It is a treat getting to listen to the English pace notes of Sergio Itu there, and I do take my investigation very seriously. Peter, after one of this morning's stages, we heard that there was a note about adjusting the engine map, so I followed up with Mads and I asked what it was that they were changing at that point, and he said that they're switching between a narrow and technical setting to a more aggressive one in the wider fast parts. So those sorts of notes are being passed over through Sergio as well as the directional notes.
I don't know what form of transport you use to get around the service park so quickly and ask all these questions, Hollie. That's very, magic broomstick through there with khakis, of course. Fantastic. Yeah, that was which stage was that?
I believe it was
second pass of gear pass.
Yeah, stage 3, I believe it was.
Yeah. So it was in the pace note, serves to say change map, and I think Mads had already remembered, he'd already switched it, and so that shows you that there's just little tricks you can play with the car and the setup, and that's where, again, we mentioned it in our coverage early on today, that Mads has got more experience with the Citroen C3 Rally 2 than any other driver, really, certainly on loose surface, and knows all the little tricks to play with it. That's super interesting information going back between the different throttle maps for the engine. Hermann Neuber then in the Toyota GR Yaris Rally 2, trying to get himself back onto the podium. He was on the podium for most of the morning loop and is fight back now after both Mads Osberg and Robert Jurgensen managed to pit past him. Now we've got a stage time coming in for Michael Lenger, and it's 6:32.6, 19.3 quicker, and in terms of comparison to his time this morning, 11 seconds faster. So Lenger using those better conditions that we're getting in this second pass to lay down the marker. Will it be good enough though to hold off this man, Mads Osberg, and indeed Robert Jurgensen and Simon Wagner? Very tidy there for Mads.
Now, Peter, I have actually just noticed down the bottom of Rally Base we have an answer as to why Martin Laszlo lost so much time. It's saying that he had a double puncture after SS6. So there explains where that 30 or so seconds has gone to the person above.
Oh, and that, if it's a double puncture, that's rally over.
That is because, heartbreaking.
Oh no. Oh, that is, one puncture is painful enough, but two is just like you say, heartbreaking, because you can only carry two spares in the back of the car, and well, that's it. Oh, that is such a shame for Martin Laszlo. Hopefully we'll see them back tomorrow under restart rules. Can enjoy tomorrow's stages running free, but well, we were right to think there was something strange with the times. So that then takes one contender out of the top 20. Hermann Neuber we ride with now in the Toyota, with Ursula Gassner calling the pace. Jaroslav Kultun into the stage then in his Skoda Fabia RS, the Polish driver having a superb rally so far, 6th place overall at the moment. His former Jännerrallye experience, won 3 stages on last year's event, so he does enjoy this type of surface. So I can see why it was straight onto the calendar for Jaroslav, with long-time co-driver Kirinush Pleskot. They've done over 130 rallies together. That is a lot of time together.
That is the marriage that you were talking about earlier. That's when you need to have a system that works between the two of you. Wow.
Maybe longer than some marriages as well. Anyway,
we digress.
We digress, yes, exactly. So Lenger then fastest with an average speed of 81.43 kilometers per hour, looking really committed in that last part of the stage there. We keep a watchful eye on the times. If you want to follow along on live timing, it's really quick and instant. Go on to Rally Base, rally-base.com, and on the main page you'll see it there, Jännerrallye 2026, and you can get the same timing information we have here in the booth. As Hermann Neuber approaching the end of the stage, the tricky corner, and yeah, you can see the top drivers, they just keep it so neat and tidy. How do they do it? How do they do it?
Running my eyes once again over the YouTube chat. Now, we mentioned stage 5. For whatever reason, we were experiencing a range of technical difficulties, and one of those was, unfortunately, the YouTube live chat feature wasn't quite working. I'm glad to say that it is now back, and it appears that we've started a bit of a debate about UK tyre regulations.
What have you done?
After speaking about tackies on the RAC. But besides that, if you couldn't care less about the UK tyre regulations, please still do let us know where you're watching from, who you're supporting. I can see some Estonian flags in the live chat section as we now hop on board with Romet Jørgensen and Sim Oya giving each other a little fist bump there before they get their afternoon loop underway. There's no questions asked that these two have had a very testing morning, but when I spoke to Romet at service, he was still somewhat optimistic, and I think if you can put these things behind you, you truly deserve any result that comes your way, and hopefully the first 5 stages can be wrapped up in a box and put to one side, and they can really now show us what both they and the Fiesta Rally Tour are capable of.
And the one thing Romet Jørgensen is a rapid learner. Oh, getting it all backed in Scandinavian flick style. Fantastic there from Romet Jørgensen, stylish. Now, unfortunately for Mads Osberg's fans, I know there aren't any out there, not good news. Bit past this through, but more of a problem. 28.1 second drop to Michael Lenger. Again, you would have to think that is some form of problem, potentially a puncture, but we will try to get confirmation on that when we can. But he's behind Johannes Kepler, behind Martin Fischlehner, behind Albert von Thun and Taxis. Normally with Mads' experience and the pace he's shown so far, a stage winner of course this morning, you'd expect him to be up at the sharp end. So is it yet another damaged tyre for Mads Osberg, or is it something even worse than that? We will try to find out for you when we can, as Jørgensen now into the more open part of the stage, putting this newly built, brand new updated Fiesta Rally 2 through its paces. Really tricky bit there between the house and the warehouse. It's a stall for Jaroslav Koltuno, just about keeps it going.
Wee bit of an overshoot there. The car just didn't turn in as quickly as he hoped it would, but luckily it did stop before it headed down that ridge, or else you would be in a real mess trying to get back on the other side of those rocks.
Big thank you to Christers Vilo for sending in on our YouTube chat. It's a puncture for Osberg. I don't believe it. Not enough. Well, 2 punctures already in 6 stages for Mads. What a pity for him.
Such a shame considering how well he was doing at the start of the stage as well. We were commenting on how much of a push he had on the go, but hey, maybe you just pushed the tyres that little bit too far.
Yeah, they do look like they're quite easy to push off the rim. Of course, tiny little skinny wheel rim. It'd be interesting to know from the drivers if that is why they're experiencing some punctures, or whether it's the cuts, whether it's actually the sharp stones that are coming from in the cuts, because some drivers are really taking quite big cuts through there. Hermann Neubauer is through the stage, 15.5 seconds dropped to Michael Lengauer, but he may well find himself back up on the podium with Osberg's troubles. He's now 9.2 ahead of Osberg, so it's all drama here. Kuru, I wasn't trained for this. I couldn't need a calculator to figure out all these gaps that are going back and forth all the time.
Yeah, Austrian roads can be very tricky at times. You expect a certain thing and you get something completely different. It's not any different when you go into a rally stage or on a regular road with some potholes. It happens sometimes, and well, it does make it more exciting, doesn't it?
It does, yes. We're in the entertainment business, so we don't mind at all. I'm sure for the drivers it's intensely frustrating. It's very neat and tidy there for Simon Wagner, unlike the huge, almost Group A and Pretzer style back it in job from Romet Jørgensen. Which one's quicker? I wonder. But Wagner looking just in control. He's having an absolute ball driving this in the I-20 Rally 2 on these tyres. He now knows this event so well. Is it the culmination of all those years of work? Second year with Hanna Ausländer alongside, and look at the difference there. Look at that, how some of the earlier runners, the tail of the car was wagging out, but Simon Hollie, he just seems to have that car really dialed in, almost the kind of Loeb style, not too much oversteer, keeping it really nice and neat and tidy.
Yeah, some drivers like to have their cars responding to the slightest bit of touching, others prefer to have it more fluid. We spoke about Oliver Solberg and his really soft setup of the Toyota GR Yaris. It appears that Simon Wagner is perhaps the opposite. He likes to have quite a nippy car that's able to respond with small inputs, and he's had a good amount of time behind the wheel of his Hyundai i20 to really figure out what works for him, and it means that he's been getting results, he's been gaining confidence, and another tricky corner for Romet there. And yeah,
Well,
if this is what accumulates to Wagner having a great result on this rally, I think he's put in the work, he deserves it.
so far, so good. Jurgensen coming towards the end of the stage now, but to stop the press, Jaroslav Koltun has entered the chat. Fastest through so far for the Polish driver by 4.1 seconds. So it's not going to be 4 stage wins in a row for Michael Lengauer on Lasberg. Jaroslav Koltun has blown them all out of the water here. He had 3 stage wins in the Jännerrallye last year, and this could well be another year. Where does Simon Wagner fit into that? Unbelievable stuff from the pole.
What's the opposite of commentator's curse? Because I think you've just done that, Peter. You mentioned his stage wins at the start of the stage, and now he looks like he might be able to secure another.
And he had that sort of half spin, half stall at that really tricky left-hander. So there was maybe another 2 seconds on the table there.
Epic time from him. Well done.
Wow. Yeah, superb stuff. I'm sure they'll be absolutely delighted down at Orsak Rally Sport. I know that Peter Linhart, Pluto as he's known, is here this weekend, who's affiliated to the team.
You know, that's the first time I've learned what Pluto's name was. I've known him as Pluto for all my life.
I think everyone else does.
Didn't even know he had a proper name.
He's just Pluto. Great guy. He's so helpful to so many drivers and teams throughout the whole world of rallying. So Koltun fastest then so far, but where's Romet Jurgensen going to come into the mix? Because he's next to come through the stage in that Ford Fiesta Rally 2, and you would expect that after service with a little bit of a chat with the ZM team, a local Austrian team who know this rally so well, and with that new package they maybe made some little tweaks as well, and I think we could well see a quick time from Jurgensen, but we'll wait to see the times coming through. Wagner now pushing on over the much quicker part. Loads of fans there cheering on the Austrian hero.
That is a fast bit of stage there, wow. And to see all of the fans out as well, especially at this time of day, it's getting colder, the sun is disappearing rapidly from the sky, and I wonder if they'll go from here to one of the later stages this evening, get their flares and fireworks back out.
So let's see how Simon Wagner goes then on this really tricky corner. He's been very neat and tidy so far. Just an overshoot really there for Wagner. A couple of seconds drop there. Jaroslav Koltun still fastest through. Romet Jurgensen third quickest, 9 seconds off the pace of Koltun.
I think that little moment there from Wagner could seal a Koltun stage win there as well.
Could be. His 4th Jännerrallye stage win for the Polish driver, sitting in 6th at the moment. And Jaroslav Koltun, in terms of life experience, is approaching the half century, and he's trying to fight against these young guys, and he's beaten them at their own game here in the second pass of Lasberg. Superb stuff in that Skoda, and that's got to be giving him a lot of confidence to go to Monte Carlo in a few weeks' time. So Wagner next to come through the stage then, and we'll see where he fits in. He had a 19.5 second lead over Michael Lengauer coming into this stage. Lengauer second quickest at the moment of this of those who are through, and in fact, really, Koltun and Lengauer are in their own world, because Jurgensen's third quickest, but he's 9 seconds off the fastest time. So it's really moving on at the front of the field, and how much time do we think Wagner lost there? 2-3 seconds maybe?
Yeah, I'd say a good few seconds, and it seems to be a stage that is changing things up a little bit. We've seen from Ostberg's puncture in there, he slips back down behind Neubauer, so There's still lots to be decided in these last 4 stages of the day.
Now, you guys were busy at service, but did you manage to get any Ernst Hanader bakery products, or at least book them in?
We did not. I'm sorry to say we've
You were
not
busy.
managed to get our hands on any tasty baked goods just yet. I do want to sort of make it my mission. I need to speak to him before the end of today so that he can bring things tomorrow. Otherwise, we're done for.
Yeah, you got to get on the delivery list for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Ernst Hanader in this Toyota GR Yaris. I mean, what a run he has had up there, mixing it. He was ninth overall on this stage earlier on. Quite fantastic. Now Wagner through, and it's not a stage win. Second quickest, 4 seconds from the fastest time. So that will be a stage win for Jaroslav Polchun. His fourth in the history of Jännerrallye, and by a good margin as well. And I think even with that little mistake from Wagner, I don't think he lost 4 seconds.
I think he actually might have, because he had to back up too. So it's probably right around that 4-second mark. It could have been a very interesting photo finish if that didn't happen.
Yeah,
we've got a lot of love for Coulton and Wagner in the YouTube comments at the minute. People saying just how clean they're driving and how seriously impressive it is. There's also someone asking what was the website for the up-to-date times. If you want to have a look at the official times for the rally, you will find them on Rally Base. So that's rally-base.com, and you will then have this option of selecting Jännerrallye, and you will get all of the times that we are also seeing in the commentary booth, so you can be kept up to date as possible.
Fantastic website, and the live information at the bottom of the page as well comes through with information too, so you can really keep a following watch on the rally. I have to say it's one of the best systems I've encountered in rallying. Brilliant job by the folks at Rally Base, and indeed I think we must say the organisers here, the Jännerrallye and the marshals, because the website is only as good as the information you give it, and to get that information to the web so quickly is remarkable. I tell you what, it certainly makes our jobs a bit easier here in the commentary booth. There's a big slide for Christoph Zellhofer in the Suzuki Swift ZMX. Meanwhile, at that corner that seems to be catching everybody out, Günther Knobloch in that Renault Clio Rally 3 making his way through.
It's interesting that this corner seems to be catching more people out on the second pass, and perhaps, Kuro, you were right about what you said. If that corner is now freezing again, now that the sun is going down, perhaps the drivers have a bit more confidence coming into the second pass. They think, okay, we've driven this stage before, we know where we can push, where we can bring it back a little, but maybe they're getting to that corner thinking that they've got it nailed, hitting a bit more ice than they did on the first pass, and then they're having to act quick, and that's resulting in either slight overshoots, stalls, because it's certainly being a lot trickier than what it was in the first instance.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Just a lot of the stage got faster, but that also means if there's any part of the track that got more difficult, it's going to catch them off guard. And I think that is the very corner of the stage that is getting most of the drivers, most of them overshooting it, having to correct there, or having to slow down, stall a little bit, make sure that the car doesn't go off the track and lose even more time. And yeah, it's getting a lot of them. I would say more than 50% of the drivers so far.
Even rally leader Simon Wagner getting caught out by it. So yeah, it really is. But what it means though is that Wagner critically was a 1/10 of a second quicker than Michael Lenker. So in the previous stage it was almost nothing between them. In the previous stage it was 4/10 of a second in favour of Lenker, and this time it's a 1/10 of a second in the favour of Simon Wagner. Over all those kilometres, on all these surface changes, there's still not a great deal to separate, and it shows you that Wagner's not really cracking under pressure from Lenker, and he leads the rally by 19.6 seconds. But one of the big developments really is that now the gap from Wagner all the way back to third, Jürgensen has moved up to third, 54.2 seconds from the lead for him, 10.8 seconds back to Hermann Neubauer in fourth, and then 9.2 for Mads Osberg. So after that puncture for Mads Osberg, which lost him a lot of time. In this stage alone, it's lost him over half a minute. So from punctures alone, he's lost over a minute today, and he's a minute and 14 off the lead. So it's a kind of story of what maybe could have been for Mads Hollie, but it's just not been his day.
Absolutely. We've seen quite a few drivers with some rotten luck starting this rally, and he is definitely one of them. They'd hoped that their puncture on SS1 would have been their bad luck getting out of the way, but it seems it wasn't the case. And as we mentioned earlier in the stream, it'll be interesting to have a chat to them and ask whether the construction of the tacky tyres might be a reason for that. Do they tend to slip off the rim more than what a regular tyre would? If Mads has never driven on these tyres before, he's got to get used to that and figuring out how much he can really put on those tyres before they do give in. So I'll be sure to follow up with him and see what he has to say.
So this is how it looks then. Simon Wagner leads the way by 19.6 seconds after 6 stages here at the 2026 Jännerrallye. Romet Jørgensen moves up into third, but still 54.2 seconds from the lead. Herman Neuber moves up to fourth, and Mads Osberg dropping back to fifth with, unfortunately, a puncture in this stage. His second in 6 stages. What a pity for the Norwegian WRC and ERC star. But a big entry here for the Jännerrallye, as always, is car number 19, Simon Sieberl, goes through in his Suzuki Swift ZMX. Really cool little car here, based on a Reiger chassis, but with a Suzuki Swift body over the top of it. Quite a lot of power, over 300 horsepower in one of these. But I have to say, guys, I've been watching the YouTube chat very closely, and we've got our friend Kuru here broadcasting on Twitch for the first time for the Jännerrallye. We're going to have to explain. Lots of people want you, Hollie, to do a speed run on Need for Speed Most Wanted in Kuru's Golf. Wait, you have to explain this. What on earth is going on here? What is that?
All right, so let me help you out. So, Most Wanted is like the most sold Need for Speed game out there, right? It's like it released back on the PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, and PC back then, right? Still the most sold game ever since. And it's been like the game that I started with my content career on Twitch, right, and on YouTube as well. And it's been a fan favorite, not just for Need for Speed fans, but racing people in general. And that's basically what they're asking for. And the speed run is basically a way to beat a game as fast as possible. So it's all about how fast can you beat that game. What can you abuse? What kind of tactics, tricks? Obviously, track knowledge, car knowledge, tuning knowledge, like all the things you could possibly combine to beat the game as fast as possible. So that's what you would consider a speedrun.
Well, guys, I hate to break it to you. I have never, I'd say, completed a game in my life, let alone done it at speed. So I can't imagine that a speed run of any sort of game would be entertaining. Well, maybe if you were looking for someone that was awful at it. We've got two very different people sat shoulder to shoulder here in Kuru and I. I am the world's worst when it comes to gaming. So even listening to Kuru and Pete discuss Richard Burns Rally or anything of the sort is me out of my depth.
Although I think it would be interesting to get you behind the wheel of a simulator setup, just regular pedals, wheels, and just a rally game setup, just to see how you do on a virtual stage for rally.
I mean, we'll give it a go.
I think that might be quite easy to arrange somehow.
Yeah, we do have some locally set up here, so I'll try to get Hollie to drive a stage, and I'll try to do a recording for you guys.
Okay, good. I like the sound of that. I love the Need for Speed Underground games. That was kind of my era. I absolutely love those, modifying the cars. Also, a problem there for the Rally 3 machine of Max Lichtenegger going through that same corner. We need to give it a name, that corner, guys, because it's catching more or less everybody out.
I'm surprised it doesn't already have a name. If this is a typical stage from this rally, surely it's not just today that it's catching people out. We'll need to do some research and chat to some of the organisers to see if it has had this reputation in the past or if this is something new for 2026.
Kuru's curve.
Kuru's curve.
Kuru's K left. There you go. It's at the Kuru's K left.
Brilliant.
It looks tricky anyway.
Look how
One
dark
of the
it's got here compared to how it was when the stage started. The sun is setting rapidly on these drivers.
Yeah, somebody's turned the dimmer switch down as the sun's setting. Absolutely glorious here in Upper Austria. Rallying heaven, really, whatever way you look at it. But I noticed even with Mads Osberg, whoops, there goes Alexander Baumgartner, has a little bit of a wide excursion. Mads Osberg, you could even see for him, who's 10 cars further back on the road, he was getting a lot of strobing effect on his helmet, where you're getting a lot of the kind of going through the forest, and the low sun was catching his eyes. That's going to surely play a factor as well. As Simon Sabel gets it one wheel off the ground. I hope we're not going to see a roll there, because it looks like it could possibly happen. That off-camber drop-off, but
He seemed
Sabel
to
getting
take
through.
the opposite approach there. Everybody else had been taking the corner a bit wide, and perhaps he might have been watching some of the coverage and seen that and thought, okay, I'll nip it in a little bit earlier, and it was almost just a touch too early.
At the same time, it looked quick, at least quicker than a lot of his competitors that took it wide, then had to stop and reset their car. Might be the risky move, but might also be the fastest one.
How much are you willing to risk?
Time so far in this stage then looks like it's going to be a stage win for Jaroslav Koltun in the Skoda Fabia by 4 seconds from rally leader Simon Wagner. Michael Lengauer, third quickest through the stage, 4.1 off the quickest time. Robert Jurgensen, 9 seconds off the fastest time. Hermann Neubauer, 19.6 seconds in fifth. Good run for Albert von Turnen Taxis, sixth quickest at the moment, 23.4 off the quickest time. But again, the giant killing from Martin Rossgatterer in the Renault Clio Rally 3, just 25 seconds off the fastest time overall, and seventh quickest. Quite fantastic stuff there. Then you've got Martin Fischerlehner in 8th in the Rally 2, Johannes Kipperbock in 9th, and Christian Zellhofer rounding out the top 10 in his Suzuki Swift ZMX. Join us shortly for some more coverage of the Jännerrallye for Stage 8.